true honor, our honor and privilege to introduce to you the guru of Jewish recovery, Rabbi Dr. Abraham.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Jacobson. Thank you, Rabbi Kessler. Thanks to the Karen Renaissance for making this possible. By the way, Rabbi Kessler, I'm glad for another reason that you did not open up to the general community. Someone once asked me what my proclivity was that I'm so much involved with people in recovery. And I tell them that if I see someone taking an analgesic, a pain pill, the logical conclusion is that person is in pain. All of the substances that we use in addiction, the uppers, the downers, the sleepers, the sidewaysers, whatever they are mind-altering substances that people use to escape from emotional pain. That raises the question, what are those people out there who are not addicted to anything? How do they handle their painful emotions? They're not drinking, they're not using. How do they handle their painful emotions? Well, some may have found some better ways to deal with them. But I suspect that there are some people who don't drink and don't use because they don't have too many painful emotions. I believe that among the population of people who are addicted, they are much more exquisitely sensitive and hurt much more easily. And that's why they turn to substances. And that's why I enjoy the recovering community. Because you see, those straight people out there who don't have these emotions, to me they're a little bit like food without salt, you know? I'm much more comfortable. I myself personally am a very emotional person, and I enjoy the company, sharing the company of people with emotions. And this is why I feel the community of recovering people is so helpful for me. But I heard this fantastic story, and I asked her, how do you stay sober? She said, I go to meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous. I said, what's that? You got to remember, this is 1961. Nobody knew much about AA then. Oh, she says, we go to meetings. I said, well, who does the treatment at the meetings? Well, she says, you know, we have speakers and discussions. I said, Isabel, do you have psychologists at the meeting? She says, there's one psychologist who comes around, but he's still drunk most of the time. I said, Isabel, something is going on at the meetings that keeps people sober. I want to know what it is. Can you get me into a meeting? In 1961, she took me to my first AA meeting. And it's now 51 years, right, that I still go to meetings. Incidentally, I never drank and I never used. But I was bright enough to realize that the 12-step program has nothing to do with alcohol or drugs or gambling. The 12-step program has to be of changing one's life, changing one's personality. As my dear friend Marty said on his 25th anniversary, he started off by saying, the man I once was drank, and the man I once was will drink again. And it's a transformation of the personality. And this is so impressive to me because our holy works, such as the great Gaon of Vilna, said that man was created in order to change his personality. In the book of Job, it has a very interesting phrase that says that man comes into the world like a wild mule. And we have to not only tame the wild mule, but we have to elevate that wild mule to becoming a spiritual being. That's some challenge. And I found it in the 12-step program. Yes, I learned all the works of Musar. And I think that the works of Musar and Hasidus are enormously, enormously wise. We have to study them properly. One of the reasons that I find that the 12-step program is so precious is because even though these works of Torah, when they're studied, are very wonderful, I don't see too many people leaving the study of these works with the feeling, if I deviate from this teaching, I die. Right? And that's the magic of the program. Right? The 12-step program is our life's blood. It's our oxygen. And if we deviate from that program, we die. Now, I don't talk die figuratively. I'm talking about die, we die dead. And that's the power of the program. So, I live the program. I cannot help but wonder how Bill W. and the others in the program, how they were able to have access to so many things that we found in the Torah, and that we find in the Talmud, and we find in the Musar Hasidic works. It's all there. Just this week, I don't know if you saw the last issue of Newsweek. In this last week's issue of Newsweek, there's an article about a stunning new discovery that promises to revolutionize psychotherapy. They found that there are now fibers, brain fibers, that go from the prefrontal cortex, which does our thinking, down to the amygdala, which is our emotional center. And that proves that a person's thoughts and intellect can impact upon our emotions. Right? And if you learn Tanya, okay, which was over 200 years ago, he says it in a very simple state. Okay? He says it is natural by birth, innate, that thought can impact on emotions. I have to have great respect for science that it only took him over 200 years to discover that. So when you have the opportunity to study the works of Torah, Tanya, the works of Musar and Hasidic, they're enormously, enormously helpful. But I'm beyond the point where I can start anything new now. But it's important to realize that many of the things that we react to, we are reacting not because of what happened now, but because of what it triggered, something that happened that was buried in our conscious years ago. Thank you for listening. Thank you, that's good for my self-esteem.